Hello, this is Otaku Solutions. Before explaining SkinLayer Studio's features, let me introduce this tool as a Cross DCC tool. This is a fairly new concept, so let me explain it first. You might have this question first. Why not just make it work internally as a plugin for 3ds Max, Blender, or Maya? Why make it so complicated by externalizing it? That's a fair question. After reviewing various approaches, we concluded that an independent process is the most stable and scalable direction. Maya users already have something similar to the SkinLayer tool. Layer-based skinning is the ideal method, and it's been a global standard for quite some time. Unfortunately, due to the barriers between DCCs, Blender and 3ds Max users weren't even aware it existed. That includes people who also work in game engines these days. Anyway, because of those barriers, many people knew it was the ideal approach but couldn't actually take advantage of it. So we provide an independent solution that works consistently across any DCC environment. Let me give you an example. This is based on a real case. We used to get quite a few requests to deliver motion capture data and clean it up. Those requests came in quite frequently. If it was captured with expensive motion capture gear, that's one thing, but most came from lower-cost mocap setups, so the data required quite a lot of correction work. And to clean up that motion capture data, various techniques are needed. Processes like cleaning up small noise, or locking the foot when it touches the ground. Features that automatically lock it, or correct finger animations to bend more naturally, and so on. Various processes like these. Motion capture correction alone requires a wide range of techniques. Similarly, painting skinning neatly also requires various techniques. Unfortunately, this is an overall real-world DCC problem, and it's unavoidable. In other words, tools are getting heavier and heavier. The same goes for Maya, Blender, and other tools. And 3ds Max as well. That's inevitable because 3D work itself, modeling, rigging, animation, effects, rendering, lighting, requires integrating so many different parts into one solution. So it can't help but become very heavy. But a dedicated tool just for skinning is needed. Because a skinning tool essentially means determining how much weight from 0 to 1 to assign to each vertex of a mesh. And as you know, bone structures have become extremely complex these days. And the difficulty of distributing those weights has increased significantly, which is why there will be a separate video explaining why SkinLayer Studio was created. Please refer to that video for details. As a result, a dedicated skinning tool is also needed in the skinning stage to help you finish your work faster, as I mentioned. DCCs need to pack in a huge range of features, and from that perspective, skinning is just a tiny fraction of the big picture. Yet surprisingly, skinning is one of the tasks that actually takes up a lot of your time. So I developed this dedicated skinning tool. That said, don't worry too much. The workflow is really simple. You export once from your DCC, make corrections in SkinLayer Studio, and then export from there. Then you send it back to the DCC. That's the workflow. You'll have the bone data and mesh data you need from the DCC. You can even export bone animation data along with it. Pull that into our SkinLayer Studio, and then make your corrections. You'll fix the skin weights. Using SkinLayer's own algorithms, make smart and fast corrections, then send it to the DCC. The bottom line is we'll provide many algorithms and techniques for skinning data, but ultimately, for a character, what matters is how much weight each bone is assigned to each vertex. That data is the foundation, the core. So no matter how it's processed internally, what matters is that the data comes out clean. The structure is very simple. If you need to make corrections midway, just pull again. We call this pick. Press the pick button to update. But your existing skin data won't be damaged. We install the TCP connector separately. Through the TCP connector, we transmit vertex data, bone data, and existing weight information from the DCC. The connector sends it to SkinLayer. Think of it as connected in this way. This will mainly be your working environment. Most of you work in a dual monitor setup, right? So the DCC is on the left, and SkinLayer Studio is on the right. Or you can just use a single monitor. When you pick initially, just turn on the DCC briefly to pick, and then work in SkinLayer Studio. Then when you push, the DCC will be updated immediately. Or, you can export to DCC just for the initial setup, leave the DCC aside, finish all your work in SkinLayer Studio first. And then export the skin data to the DCC when you're done. The DCC doesn't have to be running at all times. Only connect the DCC when first loading the data, then complete your work in SkinLayer Studio and export. Most work setups will be configured this way. As I mentioned earlier, we create multiple layers and ultimately combine them all to send as the final skin data. Yes, it's a very simple connection structure. You might also wonder after picking mesh data into SkinLayer Studio. You might want to pick a different mesh. Because a character doesn't just have one skin, there can be costumes and multiple meshes. Don't worry. When you pick, even if you pick a different mesh, we have something called a skin archive that automatically saves everything. Everything is stored, so you can load and work on them whenever needed. As mentioned earlier, even if bones are added, the existing paint won't break. If you want to add a bone in SkinLayer Studio, add it in the DCC first. Click and pick again, and the added bone will load as is. You might wonder, can't I just add a bone directly in SkinLayer Studio? But we decided the most important thing is keeping the workflow simple. Because it always needs to match the existing file in the DCC. If the DCC has 100 bones but SkinLayer Studio has 120 bones, complexity increases significantly. Therefore, when modifying bones or positions, always modify in the DCC first, then use pick to update only the bone data in SkinLayer Studio, make skin corrections, and SkinLayer Studio sends back only the skin data to the DCC. In the end, it's a very simple flow like this. So bone-related work should be done in the DCC. This kind of workflow actually makes things simpler and much more convenient. And you might have this concern too. I understand that SkinLayer Studio and the DCC are connected via a connector, but couldn't the connection break? Or your DCC version might update and not be supported until we patch it. What do you do in those cases? Or a firewall or other network settings might prevent connection. Those are all very valid scenarios. In those cases, please contact us right away. We'll resolve it as quickly as possible once the request comes in. Even if there's a connection issue, we provide a temporary workaround exporting weight JSON files. In other words, even if the connection suddenly goes down, ultimately, the weight data for that character is very simple. Just apply the weight JSON file containing that data to the DCC. Then the corrected weights will be applied cleanly. In short, we have two safeguards. Yes, and even if the connection fails, you can export via weight JSON. We'll resolve it as quickly as possible. We promise. Also, when we create skin data, we have our own proprietary algorithms. Most game engines have rules for export. First, the number of weights must always be limited. One reason modern console games feel heavy is actually poor optimization. Skin data can be optimized. In most cases, the skin weight limit within 8 is sufficient even for high-quality facial work. Within 8 handles most cases. Or for mobile games, it would be 4 or fewer. Even with just 4, if you paint carefully, you can achieve high-quality skinning. Anyway, limiting the count or ensuring the total weight per vertex doesn't exceed 1, that's a game engine requirement. So we normalize it to exactly 1, and undo is freely available too. Also, each DCC has a different default axis. For example, Maya uses Y up, and 3ds Max uses Z up. Even with different axes, it automatically converts to match the connected DCC. No matter which DCC you use, you can connect without any issues. We've completed 3ds Max integration, and Maya and Blender support will be added sequentially. Some Maya users might think, there's already a similar tool, why'd I need to connect this? We're currently focused on stabilization, but we plan to continuously expand features. We'll work to provide even more advanced features in Maya than existing tools. Those who need immediate help are likely 3ds Max and Blender users. Get started quickly first, and we'll continue advancing so Maya users can also be satisfied. We'll make your skinning work more elegant and efficient. You might also have this question. Can't weights be passed to a game engine? We're currently reviewing this positively. We can't give a definitive answer yet, but we're treating it as a top priority. For now, we're focused on stabilizing core features. We'll work to make it happen as soon as possible. We've explained the basic workflow of SkinLayer Studio. In the next video, we'll introduce how to apply it in production through a simple tutorial. Please refer to that video to plan how to integrate it into your pipeline. That concludes our explanation of SkinLayer Studio's basic workflow. We'll start with a feature introduction and tutorial on how to work in SkinLayer Studio. Please refer to this and try applying it to your pipeline. Thank you so much for your interest in SkinLayer Studio. We hope this workflow will further streamline the industry and help you work more elegantly. We'll see you in the next video. This has been Otaku Solutions. Thank you.